Hi, Glenn.
Hello, Daniel. How are you? Good evening.
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. So, what have you been up to?
Uh, Being a father of two under three, we're gonna have three under four come March, and working, and that's really about it. Work, work, work.
What do you do for a living?
So I oversee quite a few car washes for Take Five Car Wash. More or less a CTSM slash district manager at the time. So I'm usually traveling about 2 to 3 days a week. The rest of the week, I work out of my main office and help oversee about 11, between 11 and we'll say 15 car washes.
Do you like the job? What you're doing?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You're in the field a lot, so you get to, when you're traveling, you get to see a lot of cool places. Being in Branson, Missouri, it's kind of centrally located, so I'm able to go to anywhere from Mountain Home, West Plains to, Pittsburgh, Kansas, Joplin, Missouri, sometimes Oklahoma, sometimes Arkansas. My main site's here in Branson that I work out of. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, a lot of traveling, a lot of hard work, dedication, just to keep, being that the car wash world or the industry, I should say, we have quite the competition. So trying to lead the car wash industry can be tough, but nothing you can't put your mind to and be number one with.
So, what's a day in the life as a dad for you?
Usually up by 5 a.m., getting the kids off to school and daycare by 6:30, 7 o'clock, working from about 7 till about 4:30 or 5 in the evening, just depending on if I'm doing an overnight stay or if I'm strictly staying in town. Then usually picking the kids up and we do dinner, jammy time, bath time, all that good stuff. Watch a little Paw Patrol, Minions sometimes too. Then usually mom gets home about 7 o'clock from the hospital, where she works as a nurse, and then slowly usually hit the hay by like about 9 o'clock.
Do you have a favorite thing you like to do with the kids?
We really, I mean, in our living room is kind of turned into more of a play area than anything, just because Bentley is only one and a half. So we have to keep our eyes on him because he's not yet walking, but he's crawling fast and kind of does the guide walk where he's holding on to stuff. So we're playing constantly. We love to play. Penelope plays with her Barbies and her what she just got. What did she just get? It's called a Barbie camper, which is like a little RV for Barbies. So a lot of Barbies, a lot of Paw Patrol, a lot of cars, Hot Wheel cars, stuff like that that the kids enjoy, and usually down on the ground playing and either getting rolled on or getting manhandled by them too. But it's a great time. I love it. Wouldn't change it for the world.
That sounds great. Um, have you guys seen any new movies? Any more new Disney movies?
The newest ones we've been watching, the new Minions, I believe it's new. And then there was it's like a new a duck movie on Netflix. I want to say it's
Oh
Netflix. It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
Migration. Yeah, the
Or
kids are liking that one quite a bit. But you can't go wrong with Paw Patrol. I bet in our house, especially on a Sunday or Monday. Usually are my days off. We'll watch Paw Patrol probably 5 times in 2 days, maybe six.
I know there's a.
Chase on the case is what
I
they like to
know. I
say.
know there is a movie, Disney movie. It's called Uncle Dan or something. It's a duck.
I have not, I have not seen that one yet. I'll have to check that out.
Um, it's
What was it called?
it's called Uncle Dan. It's a duck.
Uncle Dan. All right, let me check. I'm gonna put a note here and check that out. Yeah, because Sundays usually we're at my parents' house, which is right a couple mountains over from where we live in Branson. They live in Stonebridge area, so we're here now. We do dinner, Sunday dinners, watch football. get I have a sister that lives here as well, one that lives in Omaha, Nebraska, but she has three children, one being Penelope's age, which is about 3 years old, and then the other two are, um, I want to say, well, I'm going to be off on my ages, but they're older, probably 10, 8, and 10, something like that. So
Mm.
they all play, run around the house, and have fun with grandma, and while we kind of get a little bit of a break and enjoy ourselves.
That's fun. Being around family is the best, I think.
It is a lot of fun.
Um, so are you ready
A
for
lot of the
the?
reason why we moved.
Oh,
No,
you're.
go ahead.
Are you ready for a new child, a new baby to run around in that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like after two, you're kind of, you know the motions you're gonna go through, the ups and downs you're already gonna face. It's a lot of fun. Three, I feel like make everything's bigger. Everything, cars bigger, your house has got to be bigger. Just the kind of lifestyle we live. We definitely going to have to upgrade a vehicle or two, probably both of ours. We both drive Jeep Grand Cherokees. Well, I drive a Grand Cherokee. She drives a Compass. So we've already started doing the whole. Well, we need bigger this, bigger that, just to just even move, or we're going to be in a 2 car caravan, traveling with the kids at all times. But I wouldn't say we're ready, but we have, the mindset to be ready. For us, the biggest question is how tough is 3 under 4 years old going to be. And the grateful thing is we have friends and stuff like that, from Omaha, Nebraska, where we used to live for about 16 to 18 years, and they've kind of been through the ropes with their children that are pretty similar in age, within just 6 years. And we've talked to them, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of no sleep, like it already is. But at the same time, you kind of grow to adjust to, excuse me, grow to adjust to kind of the lifestyle you're kind of wanting. We wanted kids. We wanted to have the luxury of, seeing them grow and grow in a close age. Now, three was a surprise for sure. We were going to have another one no matter what. We just didn't think it'd be this soon. But yeah, it's going to be exciting times. A lot of effort from Michaela and I as a team, because none of this would be possible if we didn't have a good, partnership. And the fact that we're already a phenomenal team, just come with communication, and we have a great foundation, so that helps us a lot. Just getting through it. I mean, kids, one kid, two kids. I don't care how many you have. It can be a everyday struggle. This one
Mm.
of them could be in a great mood, the other one is throwing a tantrum, and you're having to correct, and try to calm down ones before the other one blows up as well. So,
Yeah.
it's definitely, it could be like I like to call a slippery slope sometimes, but it's a lot of fun watching them grow.
Have you? Is it hard to parent them when they're like dealing with a tantrum around the house?
It's all about, I would say, keeping your composure, understanding, they're only 2, 3 years old, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they're going to be acting out. They're at that stage in growth. Everybody likes to say the terrible twos and threes. It's definitely a thing, and I'm sure there's terrible fours, fives, and sixes, but you kind of go through these little milestones that, can be tricky at times. Learning how to deal with it, making sure you stay calm as a father or the mother. That way, they kind of start to see, okay, well, if I act out this way, Dad's not going to act, how I'm wanting him to. He's not going to give me what I want. So they start to, slowly see how you react, to then learn and understand how they can react. Just about 2 hours ago for us, Penelope had a little tantrum, but she also only had like a 30-minute nap. So we came to grandma's here about 12. It was about 12:30, and usually her nap time's at 1. Well, unfortunately, she decided to fall asleep on the way over here, which is a good 10-minute drive from our house to my
Mm-hmm.
mom's house, and she got about a 10-minute nap. Well, 10-minute nap doesn't work for a 3-year old. It's
Yeah.
just, it doesn't go very far. So we knew at some point today that you'd hit that stage where she's gonna kind of act out, maybe take Bentley's toys or, tell grandma no or something like that. But you just read it and, right, she threw a tantrum and I picked her up, brought her into one of the spare bedrooms, laid her on the bed, and you just simply have that conversation of, hey, we got to take a nap, we got to calm down, and usually it's about a 5 to 10 minute process, to kind of get her to understand, like, I'm just trying to get you to nap, so that way, you wake up rested, you can have some dinner. Yeah, she's probably going to be up a little bit later tonight because she got such a late nap, but that just comes with the territory. Not every day is going to be the same. It's always something unique will happen every day, and it's the challenge of being a father and a mother that your structure can be there as much as you want it to be, but kids will throw you curveballs all the time, multiple times a day, and it's all about how you kind of catch it and go with it to make sure that you can continue through your day with sanity.
So, do you guys have anything planned for Halloween coming up?
Yeah, we so I mean obviously we being in Branson, there's neighborhoods, but it's a lot of mountains and stuff like that here.
Mm.
So, you have your gated communities and then stuff like that. So we'll do a little trick or treating in one of the neighborhoods we live in, and then we always go to Silver Dollar City. One of the big things we like to do during the holidays, especially Halloween, is Silver Dollar City. They have probably one of the most remarkable displays throughout their whole amusement park I've ever seen. I mean, and everybody goes to the pumpkin patches and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
everybody here goes to Silver Dollar City. That's kind of our pumpkin patch. I mean, they have some, smaller pumpkin patches here in town, but Silver Dollar City does it phenomenal. So we'll go there, and it's usually one of those deals where you go at night, so you see all the jack o' lanterns
Mm.
and all the cool little Halloween decorations that they put up. It's very unique, very well thought through process that they do every year, because what happens is they do Halloween, and then I want to say November 1st, for about 4 or 5 days they transition into Christmas, and then Christmas comes, and I don't know if you've ever been to Branson at Christmas.
Yeah.
It's absolutely beautiful, the lights everywhere, it being a tourism town, they really want to promote that Christmas atmosphere, and they do a very good job of it. So yeah, Halloween's always fun, but I'll tell you what, Christmas, it only gets better. And seeing when you have 203 like we have now, they're starting to get into that where they kind of understand what Christmas is about, going to church and really making sure that we explain what Christmas is all about, besides being just Santa's coming and presents and stuff like that, and really building that structure and that ability for them to understand there's more to the holidays than candy and gifts and stuff like that. So we really challenge ourselves with my family and Michaela's family to really build that foundation of, okay, this is what it's all about, having a good time with family, doing all this fun stuff, but at the same time, the most important thing we try to get across is being close to family. And a lot of the reason why we moved to Branson originally, my folks, we lived in Kansas City. Went to high school where I went to elementary school at Renner. I want to say middle school was at Congress, and
Hmm.
then Park Hill High School for high school. So after that, after high school, I stuck around Kansas City for a year or two, and then my folks moved up to Nebraska. I ended up moving up there as well. Running a bar slash nightclub for a few years with a couple of friends of mine, and then kind of moved towards the country club world, where I did that for about 16 years, which I absolutely loved. Met a lot of great people, had a lot of fun. That's also where I met Michaela. So it's kind of, the rest is history. But we really, once everybody started, my folks moved down to Branson for real estate. We wanted to kind of make that change. We loved Omaha, Nebraska. It was great. We have a lot of great friends, but sometimes it's just we wanted to get away and try, kind of just open up a new chapter, more or less, and
Yeah.
see and be closer to family. And Michaela's family is originally from Nebraska, so we kind of thought to ourselves, well, do we want to leave Nebraska? And her parents ended up saying, well, we're going to go to Lake of the Ozarks and retire there because they go down there every summer, almost every weekend during the summer. So it's kind of best of both worlds because Branson's about 2 hours, 2.5 hours away from Lake of the Ozarks, and Branson's Table Rock Lake, which is a beautiful lake, a little bit different and less party scene than I would say Lake of the Ozarks. But it's kind of the best of both worlds. We can go up to Lake of the Ozarks if we want to go to the pull up bars and restaurants with your boat, stuff like that. And then down here, you just hop on a pontoon and go look at the sunset, do that kind of stuff. So we really, for us, it was a good change of atmosphere. It's a great family atmosphere in Branson, good schools, good daycare. So we're definitely been pretty happy with our move. I think we've been down here just a little under 4 years now.
Well, that's kind of cool. Yes, I've been to Branson a couple of times. It's nice.
It is a lot of fun. I mean, it's a tourism town, so the biggest thing is, yes, it's a tourism town, but coming from Kansas City and Omaha, Nebraska, it is those both of those cities. Kansas City is predominantly bigger than Omaha, Nebraska, but they're both fast paced. And when you're in a fast paced world for 20 plus years, you move to Branson, it's very slow. It's not as quick. It's kind of go with the flow. You send an email, you may not get a response in that day. It's probably going to be within 2 to 3 days before you get a response. So it's definitely a culture shock. It's an adjustment, but all in all, it's a great little town.
Do you have a favorite place you like to go there for dinner?
We believe it or not, we when it comes to the restaurants, we don't get out to the restaurants as much as we like with the kids. I mean, when we can, I would say probably in 4 years we've probably been on, I'll say, under 10 dates. So what we like to do is we have a food truck court here in town. It has probably anywhere between 10 to 15 food trucks. So we'll usually go there, and we have this place called Mr. Doggo's. Big shout out. I'm sure when this posted, he'll appreciate this. He's got some of the best tortas in town. I always get the asada torta. So we take advantage of the food trucks. We support our local community. I mean, there are local restaurants, but there are also some corporate chains here. So for us, we enjoy the restaurants we can get to, but unfortunately, we don't get to go to that many. But if I had to pick one actual restaurant, it'd probably be Social Birdie. It's actually a newer restaurant in town. They incorporate pickleball. They have golf simulators. Kind of like almost like a sports bar, but they just incorporated some
Yeah.
physical aspects of just the golf simulators, the pickleball, the mini golf course outside that you could go play. So we do enjoy that. That'd probably be our number one restaurant that we go to. We've been there, I think, twice now. I know that doesn't sound like much, but when you've only been on about 5 to 10 dates, that's the one that strikes the pose and leaves that everlasting, like, hey, come back here. It's great. The food's phenomenal. The atmosphere is great.
So, if Kansas City has barbecue, um, what kind of food does Branson have?
Branson's a touch of everything, honestly. They're, you know, I'll be honest, funnel cakes. We love funnel cakes. We love, getting your ice cream sundae with the hot fudge. And Branson being a tourism town, they have all those kind of places, and they're open all year round. So for us, it's the diverse food industry down here is it's there. There you can get anything from Indian food, Chinese, just like Kansas City. But I wouldn't say Branson is known for one thing, just because it's so diverse with the restaurants. But if I could pick something that stands out the most, is there's a lot of cities, I don't even know if Kansas City, where you can't get a funnel cake 20, 365 days out of the year.
Yeah.
Usually you have to go to a fair or some type of street event or something like that. So it sounds crazy, but that is probably the one that sticks out the most, is just having the little diners with the funnel cakes and the little food trucks and stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like Kansas City does not have anything like that. Maybe they should start
Kansas
doing that.
Kansas City's got great food.
Yeah,
That'd be. I mean, you know, and they may have it. They may have it. I mean, Kansas City's so big that you know there's a lot of hidden gems there. And you know, when it comes to like being a foodie city, I would give Kansas City that rep. You know, they have some amazing barbecue, but I also know that you know they have some amazing Mexican restaurants. You know, Asian cuisine, stuff like that. You know, I know we were there. Oh, I want to say a year ago or so. We were there. I know it was when Bentley was born. He had seizures right away. He was
Mhm.
had epilepsy. It took a couple months to figure it out. A lot of, you know, traveling from Branson to Springfield. You know, from Branson to Kansas City. We actually ended up staying in the Ronald McDonald House for I want to say almost a week to 2 weeks because we were at the Children's Mercy Hospital down there because he was having seizures and we couldn't honestly we couldn't pinpoint what the reason and the root cause was. So it was a very long process, long days, long nights of constantly being in the hospital. And, you know, we ended up finding out it was a gene mutation, not from Michaela or I. It was just kind of one of those things that just happen, you know, and it's, I believe, a small percentage, but, you know, he's been on or was on three medications. Now he's down to two. He hasn't had a seizure in over a year now, which is awesome. So for us, we're very blessed. But yeah, last time we were in Kansas City. We made a point, and I want to say it was either where did we go because I needed my burnt end fix. I want to. I don't. I want to say it was either Arthur Bryant's or Gates, but I'm almost thinking it was Arthur Bryant's. Um, but you know, for me, one of my favorite foods in Kansas City, chicken spadini. You know, when I grew up down there, kind of lived in the Italian community more. Say, I ended up working for an Italian family, and you know, I got to eat at Anthony's and Cascone's, and you know, Dominic's off North Oak was one of my favorites. That was right in front of Smokehouse Barbecue. You know, I used to go in there with some for buddies of mine and get chicken spadini all the time. I still can't cook it like I would like, you know, to get at a restaurant down there, but that's probably honestly, you know, the biggest thing I do miss. But yeah, to kind of get back on track here, you know, it was definitely last time we were in Kansas City a rocky, you know, unnerving time, but we tried to make the best out of all the situations that arose. Even though them being negative, we ended up getting some positive results because, you know, as a newborn with your child having seizures, and they were like, I would say, so frequent. You know, one to probably every 10 to 15 minutes. It was scary, you know, seeing that happen over and over and over. And with, you know, your child being a newborn, you know, you feel helpless. You feel like you can't do anything. You know, you get kind of frustrated because, you know, sometimes doctors just can't give you the answers you want. So you have to really hold your composure. And even I struggled with that because, you know, as your newborn son, you want to have answers. You want them to be able to figure this out in a timely manner. And unfortunately, it took a little time. Bentley's over there hitting the window, saying
Oh,
"Daddy."
yeah. Well, I think I've
That's why I had to come out on the deck.
try to
You
get
know, I had to come
away.
out on the deck and do this. So he tried to get away. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, so um, so what? How big is Ronald Donald House?
So the one, well, I know that they have them all over the country. You know, I want to say they're predominantly I would say close to the children's hospitals. I think that's kind of their whole, you know, background and kind of what they do. And I'll be honest with you, the facility in Kansas City was phenomenal. It was, I want to say, 3 to 4 stories. I think it was originally like they took an old hotel right there by the hospital and converted it into like, you know, they have a communal kitchen, a massive kitchen. You know, they provide the food in the fridge. You can help yourself. You know, they had a Travis Kelsey donated room with like an arcade. You know, they have all these themed rooms for the kids to kind of help them and you kind of get your mind off of the situation at hand and just kind of have that ability to release, you know, because, you know, they really took it under their wing. I feel the Ronald McDonald House of helping parents and helping them get through the tough situations that they're dealing with, so financially they're not having to worry about everything at hand, because financially they don't ask for anything. They simply, you kind of ask for the assistance because we wanted to be close to the hotel, or excuse me, close to the hospital. So they were very, very open about getting us in there, getting us a beautiful room. Had a small kitchen in it, all of that kind of stuff. But all in all, it was a very nice facility, very big facility. I'd say probably anywhere from 30,000 to 40,000 square feet facility. And it was in mint top shape, very clean. I will always talk highly of Ronald McDonald House, mainly because of what they did, to help us out in a tough time. And we felt very grateful for the facility in itself, just how clean it was. And, you see all the donations from all the people in Kansas City and all over the country that come there, and it really shows. You can see where the money's going, and it's going into their facilities. So it's remarkable to see people care, because there's a lot of times in the world where you're going through a tough situation and you're all alone. And they were very adamant of making sure that you didn't feel like that, and you just were able to almost, you had your house in their house, right? And that kind of comes with that communal
Yeah.
kitchen. You just walk down at any time and make yourself something to eat. You go to the arcade, you go upstairs on the rooftop, and they had little tricycles for the kids, and it's very inviting. Very green is what I like to call it. The colors and the flowers. They had a little garden across the street, with wildflowers growing. So very grateful for them. It was a wonderful opportunity to kind of see what they represent.
So, what is the hardest thing raising kids on, like from your
I would say
end?
balance. Balance is key. I grew up very structured. So for me, I had chores growing up. We lived overseas. My father was in the military, so we lived in Okinawa, Japan, and a couple other places overseas. And for me, it was very structured. Being in a military family, clean the bathroom, keep your room clean, make your bed in the morning, empty the dishwasher, whatever it may be. So for me, having that balance and understanding, I like a clean house, but unfortunately, when you have two kids, it's not going to be clean. I could come home and clean it before I go pick them up from daycare. It'll take them less than 30 minutes to destroy that upstairs, and it's just part of the gig. But having that balance and just creating that structure, it's key. I wouldn't say there's a lot of hard things, because if you kind of are a patient individual and start to learn as your children grow, everything happens for a reason, and they're going to act out at any moment in time, and it's really how you react that kind of moves that process forward with them. So if that incident or something like that happens again, they start to learn how to respond, and they're going to see how mom and dad respond, to then create that kind of build that ability to build that foundation so it doesn't happen again. Now, everything evolves. Children grow, and parents at the same time, we're growing with the children when it comes to learning the aspects of having more than one child. You can't give them all the things they want at all times. We're living in an economy now where money, the American dollar, doesn't
Mm,
go as far as it used to be. So having that ability to, one, have a phenomenal partner to be able to do it with, that creates that balance even more. But also just you know making sure we have and do whatever it takes to make our kids happy, whether it's being in the best schools, the best daycare, stuff like that. I think any parent would agree, they want what's best for their children. And there's times in life where, you step back and you're like, wow, I'm overwhelmed. How am I going to get through this day? And, it takes your partner, it takes your significant other, whatever they may be, to help you, just sitting down saying, hey, let's take a deep breath. How could we have handled this better? What could we have done, or what can we do next time to kind of solve this in a way that maybe Penelope or Bentley understands, to approach it and learn how to approach us in a manner where they use their words. Kids like to scream and throw things, and they don't know how to express the verbiage that they may want to, so they do it through physical motion or crying or tantrums and stuff like that. So having that balance, building the balance within the household really creates that structure, in my opinion, which also then helps build a solid foundation. Which then, after all those three things kind of happen, I feel like you slowly start to get to that point where you're starting to feel comfortable. And then you're like, oh, wait, I have a third one on the way. So it's going to start all over again. And that's kind
Yeah.
of the beautiful thing about being, a father and having that responsibility on your shoulders, because at the end of the day, it comes down to mom and dad. For me, I would never want to be a single parent. I wouldn't be able to do it. That's why I'm so grateful for Michaela and I having the relationship that we have, because we haven't always had a perfect relationship. I mean, every relationship's going to have their ups and downs,
Mhm.
and it's really how you two get through that, because there are a lot of families, if you look up statistics, when you're having kids at so close in age, sometimes it just the kids separate the couple or the marriage or whatever it may be, because it's very stressful. I mean, you have to have that balance, but you also have to have a amazing foundation that's built off of communication to then help you, like Michaela and I, get through this, because there's just days where I may be having a rough day at work and I need her to kind of pick up the slack so I can kind of decompress or answer a few emails or sit on a few conference calls. So that is the key, is, in my opinion, is just having a solid partner that is willing to get your back, and they know you got their back, and you're able to get through just about anything, as long as you stick together and understand at the end of the day, we chose to have these kids, and for us, we have to make sure, we have our heads on straight, so that way we're able to give them the best life possible. We like I said just a minute ago, we live in a world where, fortunately, kids just don't get everything they want. You can work
Mhm.
80-hour weeks and 60-hour weeks and do as much as you can to make as much money as you can to, do whatever you can to pay for daycare and schooling, but sometimes it's just not enough, and it creates those hardships, and it's all about how you get through those hardships that creates a better, um, just overall household. That's what you want. You want positivity. You want that ability for, when you walk in that door, mommy, daddy, and they run up to you for a hug and kiss. And, that's what it's all about. You could have the hardest day in the world. You could sit on 10 conference calls and talk, and probably take over, 20 to 50 calls, and you walk through that door and you see that smile from both your kids, it kind of just numbs you for a minute. It makes you realize, this is what I'm working for, their future, their ability to have the things that I didn't get to have, when I was a child. So that, at the end of the day, to me, is what's most important.
So, do you have any like tips for new parents that are dealing with something that you that you want to try to find?
I would honestly say, communicate. That is in my opinion, the biggest, you know, game changer, is just communication. Making sure you're both on the same page. You always hear that saying, let's just say Penelope comes to daddy. Daddy says no. Well, she knows she could probably go to mommy, and mommy's going to say yes. But if you have that
Mhm.
communication and you kind of feed off of each other, it then shows that both spouses are on the same page to that child or children, so that way, you kind of slowly get them to understand they're a team. It's not, you can't come to mommy for this and daddy for this and know you're going to get it, and that is the thing. But also being patient. You got to have patience. Children, will be fine 1 hour and throw you a curveball the next hour. It's never ending. There's going to be times where, you're working your job and all of a sudden daycare calls and your kid has a fever and you have to pick them up within less than, 30 minutes to an hour, just so that the other kids don't get sick. So, it is tough. A lot of people will tell themselves, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this, but you can't. Put your mind to it, and I firmly believe whatever you put your mind to, if you want to succeed, you're going to succeed. So for me and, Michaela, we know that we want to succeed and give our kids the best life, and that started with just basic communication. Building that foundation to where, at the end of the day, at 8:30, when both the kids are in bed and we finally make it into the master suite, we're like, exhausted, right? But we still, hug it out, give each other a kiss, and know that tomorrow, whatever happened today, tomorrow's a new day, and we're going to get through it no matter what. So that's definitely it, in my opinion, hands down. And some people may disagree, but I've learned just in, a relationship, you don't have a basic form of communication, it's not going to last. You got to have that foundation, and you got to have that communication.
Let's see what else I have on this list. Um, do you have any hobbies?
You know, yeah, I wouldn't say they're hobbies. I used to honestly have, and this is kind of, some people know about it, some people don't. I had a poison dart frog collection for about 4 years, maybe 5 years, where I had 24 different terrariums, which are self-sustaining ecosystems. If you actually go to my Facebook and go to G's Frogs, they're still there. I unfortunately, um, once COVID hit 2020, I had somebody that gave me an offer that I just couldn't refuse for my collection. Also, knowing that we had another baby, or Penelope on the way, our first baby on the way, that was a hobby that required a lot of time. And it was actually a business. It was an LLC business. I did very well. I would, it is a big amphibian community out there. So you had a lot of forums, and, you're buying and selling frogs, and, reproducing them, and learning how to reproduce each species, because it's actually a very intricate process. I don't want to go down too big of a rabbit hole, but it's a lot of fun. I made a lot of money just selling plant clippings. I mean, a 5 inch clipping of Markravia would sell for anywhere from $75 to $100, and your other hobbyists, they'll buy that all day. So it was a lot of fun, a fun experience. But once you have children, with 24 different terrariums plus about 10 grow out tanks, being when the frog or the tadpole turns into a frog, they got to be in a smaller tank, so they grow out of that and grow into their actual self-sustaining ecosystem. So it was a lot of fun. Now what I do, I'm more of a I love watches. I wouldn't say it's a hobby, but I collect watches. I love my Air Maxes. It's almost, when you grow up, you always see the shoes you want. You couldn't always have them when you wanted, due to your parents' budget, or you may just not have, the best job when you're at a young age to be able to afford those things. So now that I can, it's more of a collecting thing now. I like the watches. I like the shoes. But to be honest with you, my number one hobby is spoiling my kids, giving them what they want, and because there's just honestly not not enough time in the day for me to have that kind of hobby anymore. But I do love. I will say, what, the number one thing I like to do when I have a moment is, I'm a big YouTube guy with car videos. I won't throw any vlogs out there that I watch. But a lot of I mean, a lot of foreign car stuff, Lamborghini vlogs and stuff like that. I really get into those. The one I will say that I watch the most is called DDE, which is Daily Driven Exotics. I look forward to their videos every morning. Usually it's a 30-minute video, and they put content up every single day. They have two channels, and it's phenomenal. Some people love them, some people hate them, just like any vlogger,
Yeah.
any YouTuber. But these guys, they have 4 million subscribers, and they really put out good content. So I guess we could call that a hobby. That I love the car culture. Unfortunately, it's more of a car culture based off of YouTube that I have. An in-person culture, I don't really have, a car club that I go to or anything like that, unfortunately. But those would be the hobbies, if we call those hobbies.
Well, don't they have car shows in Branson?
They do. They're unique. They're a lot of older vehicles, and I'm not bashing older vehicles. My father had a 71 454 Stingray Corvette growing up when I was a kid in Kansas City, and I loved it. One of my dreams is to maybe have that same car, or that same year, make and model one day, because the older classics are amazing. Chevy Nova, stuff like that, the old Roadrunner. There's all those classic cars that they are amazing, but That's predominantly the car culture down here. You don't see too many of your exotics, your Lamborghinis, Ferraris, your Bentleys and stuff like that. You get your occasional G wagon, but it's a very pretty much older community here. Now it's up and growing. Don't get me wrong. I shouldn't bash Branson with the demographic being older because it's not predominantly older. It's just probably a 50-50 split, but we do have a decent. I know there's a few Lambos here in town and a few guys that have some nice cars that come through the wash and hang out, but it's very limited. But I guess I should appreciate what we do have.
Well, my dad used to have a Trans Am in his garage. He still has it, but it's at my uncle's house, taking care of it.
Wow, I mean Trans Am that goes way back, especially if it's like probably all original and probably a collector's item by now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, so, what kind of do you like any music?
Honestly, I do. I used to listen. I mean, I'm everything, anything from old school Frank Sinatra to country to the hip hop and everything. Honestly, down in Branson, it's predominantly country. Your radio stations and being the Bible Belt down here, you don't get a lot of the hip hop radio stations stuff like that. But usually on Spotify, that's obviously what I listen to
Mhm.
predominantly 98% of the time. I'm honestly listening to podcasts. That's my big thing. I do love a good podcast. One of my favorites is probably Joe Rogan Experience. He's amazing. He does some incredible interviews with people, and they're definitely worth listening to because they're very knowledgeable. But honestly, I never thought I'd say this. I probably listen to more country music now than I ever have in my entire life. And there came a point in time when I was younger and I thought to myself, I'm never going to listen to country music. But once you move to a predominantly country town, you adjust. I mean, before you know it, you're listening to Morgan Wallen on your Spotify playlist, and you're jamming out, and it's fun time. But I've always been I listen to everything, but predominantly now country and podcasts.
Well, yeah, the same. I mean, not country, but I mean Indian, that kind of style of music. But podcasting
I'm
is
not a big
there's
twang guy.
there's tons of podcasts out there to listen to. It's crazy.
There are some very good motivational podcasts. I do love those. There's a few out there that stick out. I know Jordan Peterson's one of those. That's phenomenal. There's a few others that I can't think off the top of my head, but oh yeah, lots of podcasts. It's kind of it reminds me of back in the day when like Sirius XM started. You had your kind of talk radio, and it slowly has transitioned into like your video podcasts. And to me, it's very interactive. I think it's fun. Being that I travel so much, I really enjoy a good podcast. You throw on a 2 to 3 hour podcast, and it makes a 6 hour drive. Just you're going and going. Before you
Mm.
know it, you're there. So for me, podcasts are amazing, especially the informative ones, the ones that you can really kind of relate to. Those are the ones I enjoy the most.
That's exciting. Um, so here's a fairly interesting a question. What's a
Yeah.
do you is it hard for you to change a diaper, or is it not when you're when you got started?
That is that is a very very good question. So believe it or not, yeah, it is a P, a number one diaper all day long is easy. It's the number twos that get me, and they still get me. You're you're trying even. It's just a thing. It is 2 or 3 times a day. It's then you get your blowouts. Where you don't really realize that you're holding them with a full diaper of and number two, and all of a sudden it's leaking out on your arms or wherever you may be. And yes, it is. You never, I don't. My Michaela, on the other hand, she does just fine, but she's also in the medical industry and deals with that on a day to day basis. But I honestly still struggle with poopy diapers. It is rough, and there's no way to get around it.
I bet that. Um, so, is there other challenges that we should know having a child?
I wouldn't say challenges. I mean, you're always going to be faced with. I should say that. Yeah, you're always going to be faced with challenges. The potty training. That's a challenge in itself. And a lot of times your child can't go to or move up in a certain, not a grade, but like kind of pre-K into kindergarten type. They
No.
have to be potty trained, before they can move up, and that's a big thing. And Penelope's, I'd say, about 80 to 90% potty trained. She's going to have an accident here and there. We let her wear her big girl underwear when she goes to school, and then at night we do a pull up still, just because she may have an accident here or there, and it does happen. Um, the other challenge I would say is getting rid of the pacifier. That in itself is and can be a nightmare. We are still going through it. We actually tried it once about 3 or 4 months ago. It did not go well. To the point where I actually kind of gave in and was like, I'm not ready for this yet. I need that escape, when you're throwing a tantrum and you can't get him to calm down, the passy will usually fix it. So I'm starting to try to learn other avenues, and so is Michaela, on how to not let her have that passy, kind of start breaking that routine when she gets picked up from school and she has her blankie and passy, trying not to have the passy in the cup holder in her car seat, so she slowly gets that out of her routine and her repetition. Because it is very tough. Our goal was to we saw it, actually was a reel on Facebook, I believe, where you take the pacifiers and you take your daughter or son or out to the yard and you dig a hole and you bury the pacifiers. And the next morning, the pacifier fairy, whatever you want to call it, like kind of
Yeah.
like the tooth fairy, comes and there's like little push up pops, the cake pops, right?
Mhm.
That's the original plan. It didn't go that way, unfortunately. It may happen here soon, because at some point we're going to have to just cut the cord on that and really just say, okay, hey, it's time, And from what I've heard, it can kind of mess up their, as they grow
Yeah.
older, the pacifiers will kind of tend to push their teeth forward, kind of at
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
different angle than
Mhm.
down. They kind of push forward like that. So it's very important, I think, over time, in the next probably 6 to 10 months, we kind of get that habit beaten. Um, because, it is, that's hands down the hardest challenge, is the pacifier, for sure.
Well, I've seen people put the pacifiers in the Build-A-Bear
Hmm.
so they can hold
Yeah,
it.
yeah, we've done something similar. Penelope's just too smart for her own good, and unfortunately, she has me wrapped around her finger. And Daddy tends to give her what she wants to kind of calm the situation. So we're trying, like I said, we're trying to build a new routine to where we kind of get out of that structure of, or that repetition of, where we use the pacifier for this, we use it for that, and trying to substitute it with, maybe a snack or ice cream or something like that, to where she gets her mindset off of, I can use the passy as my scapegoat to calm down, and we develop that new pattern or repetition to get her off of wanting it every single time something happens.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good to know. Hopefully, she'll be done with the pacifiers as well as the bottle.
Yeah, well, we would. Well, she doesn't do the bottle. She's on to like normal cups, no like sippy cups, nothing like that. She's a big girl when it comes to that. But the passy is the one thing she hasn't kicked.
Do you have any questions for myself?
Yeah. So what made you get into podcasting? I mean, what made you get into the uncles and fatherhood? What was your inspiration, more or less
When
to,
I when I
that kind of pulled you in?
well, when I started, but when I became an uncle, I was in college, and I was the only one in my circle that had a sister having a child, and I kind of wanted to find a place for uncles to go, and I couldn't find anything on Facebook or anything at the time, and so I kind of said to myself, I'm going to start something. So and then let's get dads and uncles and together and learn from each other and see what we could to make it. And then I started talking to a guy online, and he was a dad, and we did a series of maybe a couple of episodes, and then after that, I kind of wanted to go my own route, and then I started Uncles and Fatherhood, so I kind of made
I
it.
love it. I think it's a great idea. Great idea. I mean, I would say there's not a lot of conversation between fathers. It's a more on the mindset, in my opinion. The mothers. They have more of the conversation than the fathers. The fathers, I feel like, kind of tend to not necessarily go through the motions, but not necessarily discuss it with each other. It's more or less like, let's go and watch the football game or something like that. So I love the creativity and the idea of you creating this podcast. I think it's amazing. I'd love to, if you ever want to do it again, definitely do it again. We can talk about some different topics, whatever you're willing to, because obviously next time I'm going to have plenty more to talk about. I mean, as our kids grow, you're always faced with new challenges, new things that, as an individual and as a parent, you've got to learn to deal with and learn how to handle, but also, share with others. That's kind of why for me, I thought it was I felt honored more or less to be asked to be on here because, I love to spread the word and what I've been through and what I've encountered as a father and sharing it with others so that they can hear. And, if they reach out to you or reach out to me or, you even have one of those podcasts where we have multiple people. That's
Mhm.
something to consider as well. That'd be kind of fun to do. But yeah, I think what you have going is amazing. I love the fact that it's a father thing. Yes, obviously, it's a fun time discussing those challenges and the ups and downs, of being a father. I have a couple friends that are single dads, and I kind of sometimes ask them, what do you do in this situation, being a single dad? And it's nice to exchange that verbiage with one another, to kind of just say, hey, I'm not the only one dealing with this. I mean, there's millions and millions and millions of parents and stuff like that in the world that are all going through the same thing. And having that conversation and that ability to kind of not necessarily vent, but just express what you go through on a day-to-day basis. It's a good time. It's fun.
And I also love doing the giveaways. I have one coming up, so it's just talking to all different kinds of companies, trying to spread different things with each other, and trying to make just helping out every company I can help to help
Right,
out.
absolutely. Well, and if there's anything I can ever do to help you, I know I'm in Branson, but I can definitely support you in any manner I can. You just let me know. I mean, I definitely think there's a great opportunity here for you to grow with your podcast. I mean, I know you've had several guests on here, but I think there's great potential. I think a lot of fathers need to kind of pick up on this, and then you build that community, and then you have those group podcasts. I mean, we may not all be in the same place at the same time, but with technology nowadays, I'm, 300, 400 miles away from you, and we're able to have pretty much crystal clear picture and sound and, have the discussion and express ourselves and what we, deal with on a day to day basis.
I think so too. I mean, if you can find single more dads, that would be great on your end,
Absolutely.
because
Yeah, absolutely.
it's always looking for
What I
different
think,
people.
I think once, you post this and, I share it, I'm going to put out there if, I mean, all my friends, most of them now are dads or, married, et cetera, or an uncle or something like that, word will get around, and then hopefully they'll reach out to me, and then I can kind of send them your way, and then we can all get on a chat or a podcast, and have a good discussion, and help you grow as an individual with your podcast.
Oh, that sounds nice.
Absolutely, be happy to help.
So, do you have anything else you're doing today you want to share?
I'm gonna probably, when I get off here, I'm gonna go eat dinner, and then we'll probably be heading home, probably in the next 30 to 45 minutes or so, because it's getting to that time where, the volcano will erupt if they don't get in their jammies and settle down, and get put to bed, because like I said, we try to build that structure and that routine, and that kind of, hey, this is 8 o'clock, we've got to go to bed now, we got school tomorrow, or we have church in the morning, or we're going to go to the park, getting them excited. But it is keeping that bedtime routine, I feel, is very key, due to we need sleep too. As a parent, we don't get enough of it. I think any parent would contest, even with one more than one child. It's a constant no sleep program, and you live off the few minutes or few hours you get every night.
Well, the one question I had was, so how is bedtime? Is it tough?
No, it's just you gotta kind of not soothe you kind of not downgrade, but you bring the volume down. You bring the we're not running around the house anymore, it's time to settle down on the sectional, and throw on a good movie, give Bentley a warm bottle. But the key is to say, okay, you have 10 more minutes, and then you walk Penelope to her bedroom and her little house bed that she has, that her Mimi bought her, that she loves. And usually I lay with her for about 5 minutes and then give her a kiss, and usually she does pretty well. I mean, she's been at a stage where she wakes up in the middle of the night a few times to come downstairs where the master suite is, and lay with us. And we usually, what we do is take her straight to bed, because you don't want to develop that routine where she can just sneak in the bed, and then all of a sudden you have two children sleeping in a bed. I don't care how big a king size bed is, or a California king, it's not big enough. Before you know it, Michaela's on one end on the edge, and I'm on the other end on the edge, and they have predominantly the middle of the whole bed, and you're just sitting there like, this is where we're at. So yeah, it can be tough, but predominantly, it's building that routine that makes it easier and easier. That's why, like, for me, I know by about 7:30, 7:45, we've got to be in the car on our way home. And to be honest with you, when daylight, or when we bring the clocks back, that is when it gets a little tricky, because it gets darker, and they kind of build off of like dark. So when
Mhm.
they see the sun going down, they kind of start understanding it's time to get ready, things are calming down. We're not horse playing anymore, we're bringing down that moment. But see, the catch is you don't want them to go to bed at 6 o'clock at night, because then they're up at 3 or 4 in the morning. So you want to kind of build that new structure and that new foundation of, okay, we're still staying up till 7:30, 8 o'clock, because I'm not trying to be up at 3 in the a.m. Even though I'm up by 4:30 or 5, every morning, no matter what. You gotta keep that structure there, that routine, so that way, over time, it does nothing but hopefully get easier.
Do you read any books to her?
On occasion, usually we try to de-escalate the stimulation, period. So usually it's, turn the sound machine on, you know, give her a few kisses goodnight, cuddle with her, and then kind of move on. Because I feel like sometimes if you give them a little too much, they get to that point where you they depend on that, and I'd rather them understand. Okay, it's bedtime. It's time to go to bed. Yeah, we could read a book, and here and there we do, but that ability to make sure. Sorry, there's been a bear around the neighborhood, and I just heard something moving behind me.
Oh,
There's no bear though.
so,
Oh, that creeped me out. But no, it is. We go strictly to, it's time for bed. Let's go to night night, and they do very well with it. Bentley, more or less, being a little over 1 years old, he's a little bit tricky. He'll let you know he wants that bottle, and it's cuddle time, and he has been doing a lot better sleeping in his crib rather than in the middle of Michaela and I, because it's to put his head in your back and you wake up, and for me being 38 years old, it is tough. It is very tough to wake up with a sore back and go throughout the day.
All right. All right. Well, hopefully your back doesn't hurt tomorrow.
Nah, we'll be all right. We'll be all right.
Well, I'll let you go. Thank you so much for doing this with me. And
Absolutely. Happy to be here. Pleasure is all mine. I'll be happy to do it again with you. And like I said, I'll kind of reach out to some of my contacts and see what we can get lined up for you, and see if we can get like a multi call going or something like that. I love to support friends and help build their podcast or their business, whatever it may be at hand. I like to be a producer, to be able to help that person out. So I would love to do this again. It's a lot of fun for me, having these discussions with you and exchanging verbiage with one another. To me, it means a lot, to know somebody out there does care about how us fathers and us uncles feel. So kudos to you on that, and I really appreciate you having me on board.
oh, you're welcome. I would love to have you back on. It's always trying to find the people
Absolutely.
that want to be on here, because some people don't really want to be online. So
You know,
it's kind of
I'm on
hard.
enough conference calls. Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, it's, whether it's stage fright or whatever they call that, but I'm on enough conference calls, and I've actually been on quite a few podcasts myself, to where it's just kind of, it's easy. When I was younger, a lot of the Kansas City people knew I danced. So for me, I was always that guy that wasn't afraid to get in front of a group of people and, do what I do and have a good time. So when it comes to talking or being on video or putting a podcast to where, thousands of people can see, it's fun for me. I love it. I love being able to, express how I feel, but also exchange the verbiage with one another, because in reality, you never know who you're going to touch, never know who you're going to reach out to, and that you may be able to connect with or even help touch their lifestyle to where you're improving it on your end.
All right. Well, thank you so much, and I will
Of
let you
course.
know when this is up and all.
Absolutely, Daniel. You have a good night, and thanks again for having me. I'll let you close it out.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sure.